Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess Spice. Today we are at the next topic, that is the endgame studies explained. We are at the 39th position. Again we have got case of two connected passes. This time it is all about race of pawns and of course little bit about mating net as well. This is the position with white to play and win. There are very few candidate moves we can say. There is king f6, king g6 and the pawn to g6. Let's start with the most obvious move, which is king f6. The king wants to go to f7 and use the g pawn for advancing it and queen the pawn quickly. After king f6, black has to play very carefully because white is threatening kf7, after which the g pawn would queen in 3 moves and it will mate. For instance, if b3 is played, then there is kf7, b2, g6, b1 equal to queen, then g7 check, king h7, g8 equal to queen check, king h6, and we see a new race again after the move qg6 check. So queen takes g6, h into g6, and we see a new race of pawn c3, g7, c2, g8, c1, but queen g6 checkmates. So this position is losing for black. But the whole thing can be easily parried by the move king g8. After king f6, king g8, there is nothing much white can do. If he goes for the same or the similar idea with the move h6 first, then comes b3, g6, b2, h7 check, king h8, either kf7 or g7, both will transpose king f7, b1 equal to queen, because the b pawn wants to control the g6 square. So g7 check, king h7, g8 equal to queen check, king h6, and we see that there is no checkmate with the move queen g6 because of qb1, and only qg7 check, kh5, queen e5 check, after which the c pawn will be taken and the game will be drawn. So the winning attempt with the move king f6 fails. Very similar would be g6, when after again b3 we see the b pawn is coming up with a check. White's best chance is combination of the king move and sometimes h pawn and sometimes in some lines using the g pawn. So the winning move is kg8, which threatens king f7. So now we look at two variations. One which we discussed earlier, the move b3 immediately allows king f7 when after b2 g6 the line which we discussed comes into play. b1 queen, g7, king h7, g8 queen check, king h6, queen g6 check, and we see this position with b1 queen and g7, g8 and queens, king h6, and this position with qg6, and after queen into g6, hg6, the promotion of new pawn to queen. So after c3, g7, c2, g8 equal to queen, c1 equal to queen, and we again get qg6 checkmate. This is exactly transposition to the previous line. We should also note that moving the c pawn first is not making any sense because black wants to control the g6 square with his queen, which is not possible from the c1 square. So after kg6, only move is king g8. When white uses the advance of the h pawn, h6, initially this looks like a slow plan. Now we have to look at both c pawn queening and b pawn queening. To both of them, white has to play differently. After c3, h7 check, king h8, we see this time the move king h6 fails because after king h6, c2, g6, c1 queen would be checked and black will win the game. This time when the c pawn is about to queen on c1, white will deliver mate on the g6 square with the move kf7, c2, g6, c1 equal to queen, G7 check, King H7, G8 queens with a check, King H6 and QG6 mate. This line or this kind of mate we are seeing for the third time already. And finally, after the move KG8 H6, we have to see the move B3. Well, after H7 check, if King F8 then H8 queens and queen will take both these pawns. So King H8 forced, and this time white cannot play King F7 because even if the queen comes on G8, B1 queen will guard the G6 square. So white goes for the move King H6 and black is caught up in the mating net. After B2, G6 already is in the mating net, B1 equal to queen, G7 and checkmate. I hope you will enjoy this video. Do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for your time.